Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Bushra Iqbal, and this is my story for Colourful Heritage. I'm originally from Pakistan. I was born in, it's a small village called Monan, and it is in district Jhelum, which is in Punjab. The village life was beautiful. I can't forget, although I lived in village for only few years in my when I was very young. And then for education reasons, and also my brother was in army. So I moved to stay with him. And that's where then he used to get posted in different cities. So I stayed in hostel for a while as well. And that's where I did my matriculation and then went to college. And I was in my third year at college when my marriage was arranged. And I was told that I can continue my education when I go to UK. We arrived here in March 1969, and it was a very dull day. And when we arrived in Scotland, especially in Glasgow, we took taxi and came to Glasgow. And I looked around, and it was so different than what I had imagined, because back home, watching all those English film, it was very glamour there. And here, all those buildings, black buildings, and it was, as I say, raining as well. So that was my first shock, that it was so different in reality. However, then we went to stay with my husband's friend, and they were two brothers living in a 3-bedroom house. And they had 3-bedroom house, but they had between both of them about 8 children as well. And so for 2-3 days, we stayed with them, and they gave us place in their kitchen, which was, again, I mean, couldn't even dream about it, that, you sleep in the kitchen. However, then we moved to, my husband's friend had 2 rooms, and they came to see us, and they said, oh, you can come and stay with us, not realizing we moved there. And when we moved there, we obviously found out that they don't have even toilet or bathroom inside the house, but it was outside only toilet, no bath at all. So we used to use the toilet outside the house, which was in they called it close. That's where the toilet was, in the stair hall. And then we would go to the public bath for taking bath. And the public bath wasn't near our home, so we were taking bus and, changing your clothes first to go out. And then obviously when you take bath, then you change again. And so it was terrible, tell you the truth. There was no heating system in their house either. So my husband, he brought one day, after a few days, we stayed in the cold room actually. And then he brought the heater, which you use paraffin oil for heating. And my husband, he drew a map and he told me that you go when I'm away to my work, you can go and bring, take this can and bring paraffin oil from the, I think it was petrol station. See, when I was in Pakistan, got married, when I came here, it was, to be fair, I mean, to be honest, I was disappointed, very sad. I did not like. I cried every day. My husband, he came here for study, and I didn't know what sort of work he was doing over here. And so when I came here, he didn't tell me. So one day, actually, I became ill and I was in a hospital. And he came to see me in a hospital. And he, because I was so upset and, not well, all alone, even in a hospital, no one came to see me. But he came and he was wearing his uniform. And even at that point, I didn't realize, I didn't know that the Scottish transport he worked and that uniform was from. So anyhow, then I only asked him, and he just smiled and he said, okay, we will know. You can bring me tea one day and I'll take you around on the buses. And I didn't quite get it that he was, a bus driver. That was another shock for me. Then basically, whenever I went out, although I could speak English, and in the hospital I was speaking okay, fine, no problem. And then whenever I went out, and if anyone spoke in Scottish, accent was so different, I couldn't understand. So that was another thing which was very difficult. However, because my husband had few friends, actually we moved to a McCulloch Street or something like that in Glasgow, Pollokshield area. Then we moved there because they had bathroom. So we moved there, but they didn't have hot water at all. So that was another thing we had to heat a couple of kettles and take bath. So again, obviously it wasn't ideal, but then I came to know that I was pregnant. And that's when we felt that, having our own place was necessary. We can't live like this. And at that point, my husband was the only one who was working. And then my education gone totally out of the window. I was totally empty. There was nothing in the house, just one bed. That's all. And one chair. That's all that house had at that time. And I was pregnant. Within 2 months, the baby was due. We didn't have money. So the sewing machine, they delivered the sewing machine, and they would bring also overhaul. They were making overhaul. So I started stitching clothes, and we managed to buy baby stuff. And we managed to buy, gradually. Then my husband, he started doing some overtime. Both of us were working very hard and trying to get all these material goods, a sofa and chair and whatever. We would spend very little on grocery. I still remember we would mostly, maybe vegetables or dal, or, we wouldn't buy meat or anything which is expensive. So we had this beautiful baby, although she was beautiful. But being on my own, 24 hours more or less with a baby, I was very young, actually, at the age of 18. 19, what do you know? Obviously, and I was the youngest in my family, very spoiled there as well. And I had no experience, so it was very difficult to look after babies and then at the same time work, because I was stitching, I was still doing work on the machine, sewing machine. So I didn't enjoy as much with my first daughter, because I still nowadays, sometimes I feel, my God, for these material goods, the most beautiful moment of life, when you have a little baby, one should be enjoying it. But I was working, and I would let her sometimes, cry, and I didn't give her enough time, so that was a wee bit sad. So he bought his shop in Airdrie, and we lived in Glasgow, and I started feeling a little bit better by then. I got used to, we had one very nice neighbor. She lived on 3rd floor, and she was really, really very nice lady. But then there are lovely people, because of my experience with another neighbor. And so that's when I also started thinking that once the girls will be slightly older, I can go back to my studies, because it was still there. We bought a semi-villa because the business was doing okay. And I learned driving, and I was helping my husband. I was still doing some stitching as well, and looking after my daughters, buying the stuff I wanted to buy for them. So that was a beautiful time, actually. One thing which I always feel that, think positive, think positive. And that's what I was doing at that time. I stopped crying. I was looking forward to that I should do something. And in 1976, the race equality legislation came into being. And I came to know that there was some sort of classes going on in Coatbridge Community Center. I went there, and when they met me, the tutor over there, she said, "You can help us because your English is a little better. So we have some student who can't speak at all." So that was quite encouraging. Rather than I was learning there, they involved me in teaching. And so that's where my voluntary work started. And I did my HNC. For 2 years I was there. First I was attending evening classes, and then I took up a full-time study, and I got scholarship as well. Our house was nice because it was newly built house. My 2 daughters were at school. I could drive. So I can see that there is quite a bit progression there. I got also a job with a Lanarkshire Division Education Department as a coordinator for English as a second language. So as a coordinator, then I established all the classes, within Lanarkshire area. You can see how I'm juggling, from one thing to another. I went to Glasgow University. It was a MEd in multicultural education. right? So I joined that course at Glasgow University, and the job came, and I applied, and I started working with them as a community relation officer. And I remember that one client came who was from Irish background. And I helped her to take her case to employment tribunal, and we actually won the case. So that part was so exciting. I had helped someone, a woman, and so it just once you do something to make a difference to another person, it's unbelievable how you feel then. I felt so happy for her, the way she was treated. And then basically the justice was done. And that's where I started taking a lot more interest in, the resolution work. And the best thing was that at that time, Commission for Racial Equality, they set up a course, professional course at Liverpool University. And so basically we had to do 2 years diploma, part-time diploma along with our work. And we used to go to Liverpool for the weekends and for residential weeks. And so for 2 years, I was working, I was studying. By then, I had my son as well. And I was helping my husband in his shop. On Sunday, especially, I would give him a break. And so all of this juggling was going on. So he was only 2 weeks old when I started evening classes at Glasgow University again. That means that my husband would come home, I would give him his dinner and make sure that, everyone has been served, Aisha, Alina, and Arf would sleep, and I would go to university. So I continued my study at uni, different likes of courses, especially within the race relation. I was quite into, the strategies and policy development, and I wanted to improve my understanding on that. So that's the reason I was going to Glasgow University again. Because in the job, that was something which we were expected that we were going to challenge, the public sector on their the practices, those who were very some discriminatory practices. So you have to challenge them that, okay, if someone is doing not right thing, and you would stop someone and you would ask them to improve their practice, which is going to have positive impact on people. Uncle Bashir Man was the chairperson. So it was really a pleasure to be working with him. Then we had another brother, his name was Bashir as well. He was interpreting next to our office. He was the head of interpreting. I feel in my life, I juggled a lot. And we all have got that potential. I think we can do it. Until you do something, you wouldn't know even that you've got that ability. Looking back now, even I feel, how did I manage? From Monday to Friday, I'm working. Okay. Then on Saturday, my husband used to give me a list of stuff that after my work I could go to cash and carry and bring some stuff for his shop, to give my husband a break, because he was working, 7 days. So he needed a break as well. And then on Monday, I would go back to my work. In between all of this, then you have friends, you have your house chores, all of that. So I don't know how I managed, but I did. But keeping a balance, because no matter if we don't retain our own identity, which is beautiful thing. First of all, for your children, you have to give them the confidence that they feel proud about their background. A Muslim woman is my main identity. You see, and then it comes to my own country. And I love this country. In 1994, we established a women's organization, Muslim Women and Family Alliance. And I was appointed as a chairperson. And in the constitution, I wrote that one of our main aim is to integrate into wider society. So in my view, it's, you can do it. You can keep your own identity, and yet you can be very much part of the country that you are living in. Wherever, if it was for, minority ethnic people, I would be volunteering myself. If it was the majority community, I would still, because I wanted to extend my, the experience. For instance, Citizen Advice Bureau, then there was this, it's a big project in Glasgow, volunteer center. And at that time, in fact, I was working with WESRAC. And yet after my work, I used to go for meetings. And I think my contribution must have been quite good, that I became vice chair this following year. And I was vice chair over there for 3 years. So I feel that, you feel good, basically. I mean, all of those school board, the primary school and the secondary school board, I was fully involved there as well. And then at the same time within my own community. And I think because of the volume of work I was doing, and that was recognized, and all of a sudden I received a letter, and that I have been selected, and I was invited to meet with the Queen. So, and I got my MBE in 2008, which was good recognition. For young mother, I would say the most important thing is that they continue their own personal development. If they don't do their own personal development, how can they help their family then? Your education or your skills, right? No matter whatever you enjoy, that's the beautiful thing about this country, is that whatever you want to do, you can do. And I'll tell you one thing, quite often people ask me, how come my husband allowed me to do all of this? And I said that I never gave him the chance to say anything, because whatever his needs were, as a wife, I made sure that I did. So, and also he was such a good person. He didn't object me going out, or, which was also very good. So personality is not just taking them to, gym only. You have to um, connect them with nature, with God Almighty. You have to show them by practice that, what is the right way to live and spend your time, you know, your quality time. You give them the quality time. It's going to be very difficult for young moms nowadays because with this technology, um, they feel that they can't do anything. That's number one. Number two, career-minded girls, of course, after having so much education, they would like to have career. And the reason most of them feel that, um, the material goods are so important, we can't keep our living standard. And if you look at the first generation, um, how much hard work they did. And at the end of the day, what is it they're going to take with them? So you feel keep a balance in your life. That's very, very important. And it will get even more harder in future. It's not going to be easy. I can honest, I can see already for young mothers nowadays, there are more challenges. However, you have to be clear about the values that you want to focus on. That is my advice to young moms.